So, welcome to my program, The World in the Pocket. And today I'm in the south of Israel and say shalom to Ron Bernstein, a ranger of the Timna Park. Ron, you look really great with your hat. How
Well, I'm a real ranger.
day so far?
Excuse me?
What's the day so far?
The day so far has been getting up real early in the morning as the first light coming out, and I went to mark trails that we have. We have about a dozen hiking trails here from various difficulties, from easy to more difficult, and we have a trail that's going to be a 2-day trail around the entire park. So I was marking that off. And then I had a group of special needs children who we had a 3-hour tour going through, looking at the major sites in the park, whether it be the mushroom site, which is a rock formation that looks like a mushroom, and the arches site, which everything we have here, if you were driving through the park, you see 600 million years of geological activity, the result of geological activity creating shapes and colors, and most important is that copper.
Is the park a national park?
It's not a national park.
Yeah.
It's owned by the regional council in the southern part of Israel. It's called the Hevel Eilot Regional Council, which is the southern part of the Negev.
Yes.
From about the Dead Sea down to the city of Eilat, a huge area, all desert.
So, Ron, tell us about the history of the park. I heard there were copper mines there years ago.
Years ago, I'd say about 6,500 years ago, people who came through here, they were desert nomads. They found pieces of rock like this. This is copper ore. The copper, the mineral in nature, is oxidated and it's green color, as opposed to we know copper looking red or yellow.
Yes.
So they found pieces of rock like that. At first, they didn't know what to do with it. They used it for jewelry, beads, gifts for their gods and goddesses, until, and we don't really know when it happened, apparently they threw it in a fire and something happened. Green sparks came out, and at the end of the process, at the end of the fire, they saw a liquid coming out of the rock. And after a while, hardened. It was something that was different. Okay, we don't know when it happened. We don't know who did it, but it happened, because if we fast forward to a few thousand years later, the time of the Egyptians, about the 14th century BCE to about the 12th century BCE, the Egyptians were here. Lots of evidence that the Egyptians were here, and they were using the copper. Now, who was here doing the work? Who was here doing the industrial work, the engineering, taking the copper out of the rock? And apparently it wasn't the Egyptians, but those who were here, the desert people, because about the 12th century BC, the Egyptians disappeared. Apparently the empire collapsed, they left, but we know that copper production was still going on. Copper mining and production was still going on. And so we understood the people that were here, we know them today as the Edomites. And they're in the Bible.
Yeah. And can you still see remains of the ancient copper production camps?
Yeah, we found over 10,000 ancient copper mines. The copper mine, meaning that at first we did find copper mines, but after we found a lot, and we found these depressions in the ground, thousands of them. At first, the archaeologists didn't understand what they were, and then they realized when they sent an airplane and did an aerial photograph, they saw thousands of them, fields of them, and it turned out that they were entrances to mine shafts. And the ancient peoples would dig. They were using stone tools at the time. They would dig. They'd go down a few centimeters, a little deeper. They found the copper ore there. And then after a while, if they didn't find any, they'd go to a couple meters to the side and dig again. And that's why there are thousands of them. The archaeologists call them plates. And some of them went down very deep. Some can go down 15, 20, 25 meters. The deepest copper mine we found here at Timna was about 37 meters deep.
Wow.
And we also know, now this is, we're talking about the period before the metal, okay? When copper was discovered, they were using the stones. We're talking about the stone, weapons and tools from stones. And then when the ancient peoples found the metal and figured out how to remove it from the rock, started using the first metal used by humankind, copper metal. It's an incredible story, and but it doesn't stop there, because they able to take the copper out. The copper is soft. They had to figure out how to turn it into something harder for agricultural tools and weapons and axes and to cut into the ground. And they learned how to add tin to the mixture, making bronze. So when you think about the Stone Age to the Bronze Age.
Wow.
And how they do it, the archaeologists say it was high tech years ago. First high tech used. They needed physics and engineering to build an oven. Okay, the oven, it was about part of it in the ground, part of it above ground. They had to bring the temperature up to 1200 degrees centigrade. Wow. Regular fire is 500. How did they get to 1200? Well, they tried a lot of experiments, hit or miss. It took hundreds of years to get to it, apparently. But they started using bellows, pushing air into the oven, raising the temperature, and getting it to 1200. At the end of 10 hours, the entire copper sunk down to the bottom of the oven, and the waste material, the other part of the stone, went out the sides, and we had an ingot of copper. High tech.
There's a whole history behind it. So, but you are mainly sitting located, it's desert, yeah? But there are mountains and lakes around as well, right?
Well, there are lots of mountains.
Yeah.
The mountain range in the Negev mountain range on the Israel side, and on the eastern side is the Red Mountains or Edom Mountains of Jordan. And in the afternoon, when the sun is setting, the mountains turn an incredible, beautiful red.
How is the wildlife? What kind of animals are there?
We have the ibex, which are the animals with rounded horns, long horns that come around. We have gazelle, the gazelle. We have wolves, hyenas. We have fox. We have lizards, lots of lizards, and lots of birds. In fact, we're sitting in the migratory path from Africa all the way up to Europe, one of the major migratory paths of birds in the world. And this is a time where the birds are now heading south. Yeah. Because it's winter here.
Yes. So, are you taking guests around there with tours that you walk them around, or do you drive them around? Is the park really big, I guess, yes?
Park in Israel terms is very big. It's the size of Tel Aviv, about 70 square kilometers. And there are a lot of options for tourists to take here. First of all, we have our own hiking trails, from easy to more difficult. We also have what we call road trips, that the tourist comes in, has a car. We urge people who are coming by themselves to rent cars, and it's very easy to rent cars in the city of Eilat, which is 25 minutes south of us. It's
Yes.
also where people stay, and they can rent cars. They also, by the way, can fly into the Ramon Airport, which is about 10 minutes from Park Timna and 15 minutes from Eilat. It's the way Israelis and foreigners can get into, come into this area very easily. In fact, there are flights from Europe into the Ramon Airport.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I don't have to go through Tel Aviv.
Yeah, also to Tel Aviv, and also coming down here. Don't have to go to Tel Aviv to come down here.
I understand.
There are about 6 flights from various countries. Before Corona, there were about 20, and hopefully we'll be getting back to what it was before. Besides, people can rent cars and do the tour, the road trip, which is about a 3-hour tour, visiting all the major sites: Solomon's Pillars, the Mushroom, the Arches, the Spiral Hill, and what we call the Chariot Site, rock inscriptions from over 3,000 years ago, and end up at the lake. It's an artificial lake. It's also, there's a coffee house there, there's a store there, and we also give each visitor a little plastic bottle to fill with colored sand as a souvenir to take back where they come from. And also, it's possible to rent a caravan, one of Park Timna's caravans. It's one there all the time. You can also bring your own tent.
So I can stay overnight, right?
Overnight for sure. And so there's that possibility. We also conduct lantern tours and sunset tours. In fact, my sunset tour is the famous one in the park. You go to a very special spot, a very special hiking trail that I developed, and end up coming to the Chariot Site, and where I make my special tea and give dates and the pomelo fruit. Also 2 fruits that are grown in the desert. And so there are a lot of possibilities here. Now, besides the hiking, there's also hiking trails, the road trip, the guided tours. Also, people are adventurous. We also have climbing, rock climbing, bouldering and rock climbing. They're bolts, and it was developed by the Israel Mountain Climbing Society, very well known. We also have world-class single trails, bicycle single trails. The first one is 34 kilometers. So we have a huge amount of activities for visitors coming from overseas.
Yeah, I see. It's everything. History and sport, and on different levels, and special tours, special events. Are there like festivals as well you have?
We also have festivals. In fact, one that is coming up would probably be for Europeans. I know I was just in London, and it was nearly Christmas time, and at the Christmas market. Well, we started a new tradition here. We have a Christmas market at the lake in Timna. And why is that? Because Israelis, every year when they go to Europe, they go to the Christmas market in Europe. Because of Corona, Israelis missed it a lot. And we we decided, okay, let's do a Christmas market here. 4-day festival.
Very interesting. Okay, who's mainly coming to Timna? Is this more, yeah, you said already, more foreigners than Israeli, probably, yes?
Well, before Corona, it was about half and half. We have about 80,000, 90,000 foreigners coming from all over Europe, all over, a lot from South America, from Korea, and the rest would be Israelis. It's a really hidden secret from Israelis. Israelis are just beginning to discover the most beautiful park in all of Israel and what we have to offer. In fact, I want to tell you that Israelis told me that there's no reason for them to go to the Western United States anymore, because everything we have there, the national parks there, we have here in Timna Park. the mountains, the arches, the mushroom shapes, the rock riding, fossilized trees, and all of the sports that we can do. So there are a lot of opportunities here. We talking about festivals. We also have concerts here too.
So Ron, how long are you living already and working in the area in the Timna Park?
Well, I moved here. I originally came from the U.S., as you can tell from my accent.
Yes.
And I moved to this area. I moved to Israel 45 years ago, and I moved to this area 45 years ago. I helped start a kibbutz Yehel, which is about 20 minutes north of Park Timna. And for many years, I was a farmer. I was a citrus farmer. And I decided to change profession. And I came here 5 years ago to Timna Park. I've always been to Timna Park. I would take groups here. I was also a tour guide for my kibbutz and would take groups here to Park Timna. So I've been involved with the park for a long time, but I became the ranger 5 years ago. And I always say that when people come here and they ask, why do I like Timna Park? I say, look around. It's the largest and most beautiful office in Israel. Okay, and that's the way it's really what it is, and it's so diverse. I meet so many people from all over the world that I wouldn't change it for anything. Which reminds me of one more thing. I think it should probably be interesting for a lot of people in Europe, especially those who are religious, Protestant, Baptist, or whatever. We have what's known as the tabernacle, the exact model of the tabernacle. Right? It mentions that God ordered Moses to build in the Sinai. And at the lake area, and there are guided tours there in different languages, English, I think German also, and Hebrew, obviously. And it's one thing that a lot of groups come here, European groups, American groups, even South Korean and South American come here just to go to the tabernacle. So that's another interesting aspect we have here at the park.
Yeah, I see. I think we stop here. You are very busy. So thank you for your time, Ron. And I really need to
I do have more time if you need anything.
Yeah, need to find time to meet you in your lovely office, as you said. Thank you for your time. All the best. And
okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very, very much.
Is up, she is here, and they are here. I've got the world in my pocket. I've got the world in my pocket. And I like it. And I like it. The vibe is up, she is here, and they are near. I've got the world in my pocket. I've got the world in my pocket. I've got the world in my pocket.